saw last night. He was supposed to be playing in his first game against Duke's biggest rival, North Carolina, last night. But about 30 seconds in, he went down hard with what's being called a mild knee sprain. Zion's foot did go through his sneaker like we were just talking about. I really had never seen anything like that. He left the game, will be reevaluated today. The Tar Heels went on to win by 16, and Zion is projected by many to be the #1 pick in June's draft. So, Skip.
Yes.
Should Zion shut it down for the rest of the year?
I would advise this young man to shut it down and wait for the draft. And that's even if this just proves to be nothing more than what Coach K said it was after the game, which is a minor knee strain. Even if it's just that. This kid is, when he cuts and he leaps, he does so with such sudden explosion that even if he has a tweaked knee, even if it's just a sprain, and sometimes sprains can be fairly serious, you're set up for a fall. You're set up to risk either limiting your NBA career or potentially wrecking your NBA career for the sake of Duke University, which is paying you no more than room, board, and tuition. And I know that's a lot, and it's a great stage to be on, but it's not worth it now. I will say this, and let me point this out first. Since 2005, I have been on the record because in 2005, the league once again started forcing kids to wait 1 year. They had to be 1 year removed from high school.
I never loved that rule.
I didn't either because they went for a long time since the Spencer Haywood versus, when he took it all the way to the Supreme Court. So since the early 70s, you could go straight from high school into pro basketball. That's fine with me because what they imposed upon these kids starting in 2005 was outrageously unconstitutional. Zion and RJ and even Cam, that they could all be playing pro basketball at a reasonably high level, and they could be earning money that they won't ever be able to get back over the long haul. So the point is, did Zion benefit from playing 26 games at Duke? Yes, he did, because remember, the scouting services before the year started did not have Zion ranked #1 in the draft. They had RJ #1. Some services had Zion #2. There are a couple of services, Rivals and 24/7, had Zion ranked 5th of the potential draftees. Okay, so it served him well, and in his specific case, to go to college and play 26 games because he skyrocketed. And then, obviously, he's now the runaway #1 pick. And what happened last night was his legend and his mystique took off again. Because he, as Jenny is pointing out, he is so suddenly explosive that he just blew right through a shoe. Even Nike couldn't contain Zion Williamson last night. So, again, he will take off even more in the social media highlight film, the highlight of the night. He is made for this social media age. And so he's not only going to get, I think, the richest rookie shoe deal, he just might get a signature rookie shoe because now the whole focus is going to be on shoes. Can you build a shoe that can stand up to Zion Williamson?
Maybe he'll have to play in Timberland boots because
I don't know. But this mystique will grow. The legend will grow off last night. Like last night, to me, actually turned out to be the greatest thing that could happen to that kid as long as he's not hurt seriously, and I don't think he's hurt seriously. So, in the big picture, could Zion going forward benefit in basketball growth from playing on big stage national TV games for Duke University at Carolina on March the 9th, in the ACC tournament, in the NCAAs, perhaps in the Final Four? Would that help him? Would that help his growth as a basketball player? Yes, it would. But is it worth the risk right now, given that he weighs 285 pounds and he is so gifted at athletic explosion? No, it's not. Because when you can jump that high and come down 285 pounds on a tweaked knee, I just don't want to see him wreck his knee. So now he's done all he needs to do. The hay is in the barn and the money, to me, is in the bank. You cannot risk it from this point forward.
Skip, I could not disagree with you more.
Okay.
From this standpoint. And if he's healthy, and I'm talking about he walked off on his own power.
Sure.
They're not saying he didn't go in a wheelchair and needed 8 guys to carry him off.
In fact, ESPN reported that he was trying to jog up in the hallways.
Right.
So I'll give you that. I don't think this is serious.
Serious. If it's serious, I totally agree. but I don't. And when I would question an 18-year-old who doesn't want to play basketball. And I get the draft, and I get all that, and can he go any higher than one? And I get it. He can only fall back, right? I understand. But I want a guy who wants to play. This is not like the football players who do it. I get that 100%, Skip. I'm not going to play in a meaningless bowl game, right, where I could get hurt on any play in football.
I have no problem with them saying no to that.
I respect that, right. Now, have you ever seen a guy step out and say, I'm not going to play in a national championship game because I could get hurt and blow my NFL career? Never, because you're playing for something. Duke is playing for something, Skip, this year. Yep. They could win the national championship. Why doesn't Zion Williamson want to be Carmelo Anthony? Remember, Carmelo Anthony had an unbelievable run in the NCAA tournament. People still remember that. He can hold on to that. His NBA career maybe didn't pan out.
That's all I remember.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. But that's a memory that you have that can't be taken away from you. And there was a quote last month by Zion, which I really respect. He said, quote, I just can't stop playing. I'd be letting my teammates down. I'd be letting Coach K down. I'd be letting a lot of people down. If I wanted to sit out, I wouldn't have went to college. I came to Duke to play. And if he's healthy, he should play. If you're asking him to tough it up and play in some NIT game or some exhibition, Skip, 100%. No way, no how should he put that on the line. But he's 18 years old. If I'm a GM and this guy really doesn't want to play and he's fine, I got a problem with it. And I question really about, is this going to happen in the pros every time he gets a little injury or a tweak or something and he doesn't want to play? I don't want guys like that. I'm not saying you should risk your career and risk further injury. He's too young, too good. I don't care where the draft stock is. You're there to play basketball. You're a player. Players play. They don't sit out, so I'm not buying that. Everybody ready to run and say, oh, he shouldn't play anymore. He's already the first overall pick. One of these other guys, Barrett or one of these other cats, could have an unbelievable run in the NCAA tournament and then say, wait a minute, this other kid hadn't played in 2 months. I really don't know. Is he okay? I haven't seen him play, but I've seen R.J. Barrett light it up. Barrett had, 30 points last night? He might light it up in the tournament, lead Duke to a national championship. And Skip, you know it's always, what have you done for me lately? That kid becomes the hot kid, and now all of a sudden, you get picked in the top 5, but you're not the #1 overall pick. So I think it would be a big mistake for him not to play if he's healthy.
So you're telling me, if you're the GM of the team that hits the lottery and has the #1 pick, and if Zion has shut it down for the last, quarter of this season and missed all the playoff games, that you're telling me you might start thinking about R.J. Barrett if he had a great run through the NCAAs?
I would just question a little bit what this kid is made of when an 18-year-old kid doesn't want to play basketball. Skip, you love basketball. You know sports. When you were 18, you couldn't wait to play. As a kid, you wanted to get out there and play and compete. And that's all I'm saying. If you're healthy. This is not football. I get football. Every play could be career-ending. Basketball, we've seen guys with worse injuries than this rehab and come back and play. So I'm just like, this whole protecting your stock and not playing when you're in college, he should have just sat out and waited for the scouts to come by his driveway and just say, we're going to pick you because we see you dunking in the driveway.
But he played 26 games for Duke, and he played at a literally high level. And he vaulted past 4 kids who 2 services had ranked above him.
How did he vault past them, Skip? By playing.
Okay.
How can other guys vault past him?
Hazing the bond. He already did it, and we know he did it. And have you ever seen a 285-pounder who could jump as quickly and as explosively as this kid can?
Well, if I'm a GM, I might say, how much is this going to cost me in sneakers during a regular season?
Well, you might say that.
That might be a deterrent.
But do you realize how much tonnage is coming down, how hard, from how high, when 285 pounds keep hitting the floor from way above the rim, where he's looking down on the rim when he does 360 reverse spin dunks in pregame warm-ups, as we saw last night? Do you know what the danger is, what the threat is to a knee? If it's tweaked right now and there's any hesitation on his part to come down full force on that, it's usually when you're trying to protect that the worst happens. Because
so the first time he does it after he gets drafted in the NBA, and he does it in practice. So he doesn't do it up until he gets to the NBA, and then he winds up, God forbid, hurting himself then. Then what? You're the GM, you go, maybe I should have made sure this guy played a little bit more before we just decided to put our franchise in his hands.
And let's talk about R.J. Barrett for a second, because he has been highly, to me, unimpressive this year from what I thought he was going to be. Because, again, I've watched a whole lot of Duke, and I brought up yesterday when I was arguing with Chris Broussard about this, the Gonzaga game. He's the guy who wants to take all the shots, not Zion. RJ wants the basketball, and I love it because he's got, as they say, that dog in him. He wants to take and make the big shot.
But is this an incentive, though, Skip, for him to up his end?
Okay, but what happened for RJ against Gonzaga down the stretch, this is in the Maui Invitational, he shot the ball 5 times in the last minute and missed all 5 of them in a 2-point game, and it just didn't bode well. It didn't. If I'm a GM, or any personnel director, I'm saying, man, I'm not sure about that. So his stock starts to fall, and I'm not even sure at this point he's going to be the 2nd overall pick. And then last night, when Zion goes down, whatever it was, 37 seconds into the game, this was RJ's stage, man. You're at home against a legitimate contender, obviously. I'm not sure they're the 2nd best team in the ACC, but they're a legit top 10
and a big rivalry game.
It's a big rivalry game. And it's in your house. And I know you're a freshman, so it's not really your house yet. But that was his time to rise and shine. That was Cam Reddish's night to rise and shine and say, we're good. We got this. But especially RJ.
The shell shock of it, though, because it was so quick. Because I'm with you, Skip. That shouldn't have been a blowout right away. The game had just started. So they could have collected themselves, especially after they saw Zion walk off. It wasn't like he was